The flurry outside my window continued its spew of white snow, contrasting with the black night behind it. I sat down, eating my usual late-night snack of warm slop. Savoring the creamy, milky texture, I thought about what may make this night even more relaxing. I decided to tune in to Adult Swim, which at this hour would be airing my favorite show, Social Outcasts. I've always loved Social Outcasts, or Soch, as fans usually called it. Its unique blend of relatable financial situations and absurd yet witty package-related gags never failed to put a smile on my face. With a grin of excitement, I reached for the clicker. If only I had known what would follow. I entered 66 into the channel search bar, which was the corresponding channel number for Adult Swim. But due to my clumsy fingers, I had accidentally entered 666. Thinking nothing of it, I moved my thumb to the backspace button before noticing something. Adult Swim came up with a search query. Strangely, Soch was airing on channel 666 tonight. I made the foolish decision to tune in, instead of entering the initially correct channel number. I would do anything to go back to that moment and do things differently. Nevertheless, I leaned back, oblivious to the horrors I was about to witness. The scene was static for a moment before the image became clear. It was the Soch living room, with Marty and Andre sitting on the couch. I smiled, thinking about all the laughs and cries I'd been blessed with from this show. Soch had brought my friend group together. I'd met all my best friends on Soch message boards and Soch cons. My fond reminiscence was abruptly interrupted by the sight of something off-putting. Andre had just announced to Marty that rent was due in 3 days, but Marty didn't react how he did in the actual episode. Instead, he stared menacingly at Andre. His expression was grave and cold. His eyes looked sunken in, and his face was gaunt. In a tone that I struggled to describe, somewhere between sorrowful and demonic, Marty replied to Andre.
3 days left to live.
As soon as the unsettling scene had taken place, Marty was back to his usual chill demeanor. Needless to say, I was shook. I set my bowl of slop on the coffee table next to my Ottawa bus stop CD and leaned forward. I wore a puzzled look as I gazed into my television. I wondered if I had perhaps hallucinated, or maybe the television simply malfunctioned. With apprehension, and with a deep sense of unease, I decided to continue watching. As usual, as what happened in the normal episode, Vasily, the lovable and huggable Russian, burst through the door. He held up a small parcel, and I held my breath as I anticipated the gut-busting punchline that he just got that package. But it was different. Far different. The sky behind him in the doorway switched to a blood red, and Vasily's jubilant expression changed into one of deep sorrow. There were real tears in his eyes. Hyper-realistic tears. And he began to speak in a shaky voice. He told Andre, "I'm sorry." Just as this transpired, the program returned to its usual state. I was thoroughly frightened, and all parts of my being cried out to stop the program. But I couldn't. For as strong as all parts of me wanted this to end, the executive function would not allow it. I was frozen, eyes transfixed, horrified, on the television. Andrek, like normal, asked, "You what?" There was a pause. Marty and Vasily shared a sorrowful look, and their tears began to change. The tears trickling down their cheeks began to run red, blood red. Their eyes became hyper-realistic, crying red, bloody eyes, and the whole set around them shifted to a red, demonic tint. Vasily opened the package. From inside emerged a shapeless, black miasma that, as soon as it formed in the air around them, rushed for Andrek. He screamed as it seemed to take his life force. I watched in horror, tears streaming down my face as the beloved character succumbed to what demonic forces were housed within that package. Shaking, face pale, I sat frozen before my television screen. As I struggled to wrap my brain around what had just happened, the most terrifying moment of my life transpired. Vasily, watching Andrek's lifeless corpse lie on the ground, turned to the camera. His hyper-realistic bloody red eyes pierced my soul as he stared deeply at me. His lips opened, and to my utter terror, he uttered,
Jackie, you have 3 days. Don't keep the devil waiting.
As soon as he uttered it, my TV shut off. After sitting in utter shock and horror for what felt like hours, I hesitantly approached my television. After quick surveillance, it was clear that the circuit was fried. Since then, I haven't been the same. Soch no longer brings me joy, only fear and dread. When my friends on Discord gush about Marty or Vasily, all I can picture are those hyper-realistic blood-red eyes with crying blood. The evil program I had unfortunately witnessed has invaded my very soul. There is one fact that still terrifies me most of all. This all happened 3 days ago, and someone just delivered a package.